G'day and welcome back. Today I'm going to be changing the brake fluid in my Volvo 145. 140 Volvos use 4-wheel disc brakes and it's a triangulated system, so it's actually two redundant systems which is triangulated. So one circuit runs the front two wheels and one of the rear ones, and the other circuit runs the front two brakes and the other rear one. They use 4 piston calipers on the front and 2 piston calipers on the back. To bleed your brakes, the first thing you want to be doing is just backing off all the lug nuts on the ground so that they're easier to crack, and then jacking up one wheel. Next thing you want to do is make sure your handbrake's on nice and tight, and just put the car in a gear. Now you're ready to jack up the front of your car, so always got a bit of light under here. The point that I like to jack on is just a cross member in the middle of the car here. That's always a good spot for jacking, and I'll just get a bit of wood between the cross member and the jack. Now we're back nice and central in front of the car, so we'll jack it up and get those wheels off the ground. Now the wheels are off the ground, we want to make the car safe before we get under. Now I've got one jack stand positioned under the car. I only take one wheel off at a time, and I'll have the wheel positioned under the car so I can't fall all the way down. And I'll also have the jack supporting the cross member, so then I've got a few things that can keep me safe when I'm working on each wheel. And because the car's most stable when I'm working close to the ground, I'm going to have it sort of in the lowest position I can and be working safely. So I won't be jacking it up really high, I'll just have the car pretty low and almost like the sort of standard position the car's going to be in when it's on the road. And then just before lowering the other side back down, all I've done is I've turned the steering wheel so that the disc caliper here is just facing out a little bit, which means I don't have to get under the car as much to be able to bleed the brakes. Great, so now I've got my wheel under the car, meaning the car can't drop any lower than that. I've got my axle stand holding up the car, and I've also got the jack there as well, still holding up the car a little bit as well. And I've got the other side wheel on the ground, meaning I've got lots of points of contact, nice and safe to be working, not very far under the car, and I won't be putting my head under or anything like that, so I can do things safely. So whenever you've got your wheels off, it's always a good time to be checking out your brake wear and that sort of thing. You can see there's stacks of life still on these brake pads, both of those, and I just measured the rotor up and that's measuring fine as well. It's sitting at about 60% life, so no reason to be changing those. I don't have any pulsing or anything like that through the brakes, so this side totally checks out in terms of how it's wearing. You can see everything's kind of wearing on the same sort of amount. It's not like one pad's not wearing at all and the other pad's wearing everything. It sort of suggests that the pistons are all operating normally. So these Girling calipers have 4 pistons, so one here, one here, one here, and one here, all even sizes. And these particular calipers have 3 bleed ports, so one at the top and then one on either side. One oddity of the 140 series cars is, you can see over here, we've got 2 brake lines leading to the brakes, which is like most cars would only have one. Because of the triangulated braking system I was talking about before, this car has 2. So just a bit of a strange thing about these cars. So with my bleeding today, I'm just going to start with bleeding this top one, see what comes out and kind of plan it from there. So I'm going to back that off now with my socket here. Let's see if we can get that to turn for us. There we go, great, cool. So it's going to open and close now. Fantastic, and that's going to be let the fluid out. And then I've got a special helper inside the car, and what we're going to be doing is pushing and releasing the brake pedal as I open and close this bleed nipple just here. So I'll get that back on. It's a bit tricky with this one, but we'll see how we go. Once we get a bit of fluid in, we don't need to open and close it anymore, but we'll show you all that. Rightio. Push on the brakes, please. And slowly release. A little bit faster. Fantastic. And all the way up. Cool. And so for this one, what I'm going to do is, instead of opening and closing this one, because that's not going to be easy for us, I'm just going to get some pliers and just squeeze this hose so that we get a vacuum and it's going to suck some more fluid through up the top while we're bleeding the brakes. And push. And lift up, quick as you want. There you go, and push down. And lift up. And push down. Cool, and just stay down this time. Now I think we've pretty much got it for this one, so that's coming out really clean, so I'm not going to do any more than I really have to. It's really just to get the muck out of the brakes today. So I'm just going to nip that back up. Great, and now that one's done. Move on to the next one. Sweet, so we'll do this one next. Thankfully this one uses a more standard type of wrench, so that's going to be a lot easier for us to open and close as we go. So I'll get this guy on, crack open the valve, and push please. And I'll close this, and then lift up please, quick as you want. And push down again. And lift up. And push down again. And lift up. And push down again. And lift up. And stay up. Great, that's coming through really clean as well, so there's not too much muck in this one, so that's a really great sign for the health of these calipers. Great, so I'm really happy with how this one's come up, so we'll move on to this one over here. Cool, so rip the nipple off, nipple cover off, get this guy on here. This one's a bit rounded, so hopefully nothing strips out when we go to loosen it. Ooh, it's not going well. Might need to use a socket on this one as well just to get it loosened off. It's a really unhappy little Vegemite right there. Cool, so we're all set up, managed to get this one backed off, so righto, we'll give it a press. Nice, and a few little floaties in that one, so up and down and up and down and up and down and down and up and down. So I'll wrap this one, so I'll have to do a bit more than the last couple. And up, down, up, down, up, and down. There's not cut through this one, so I'll do more. Up, down, up, down, up, down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down. Come on, second, better now, so I'll back it there. Go back up. Perfect. Now, always when you're bleeding brakes, you want to make sure that your fluids stay above the minimum level. So right now, this rear circuit is pretty low, and the front circuit's a bit higher. So I'll just top up the fluid, and we're ready to proceed with the next side. Now, you always want to use really fresh, good quality brake fluid. If the seal's been broken, then you want to be getting new stuff, and you don't want to just keep old stuff on the shelf because it does go bad in the container. So nice new stuff. Use it, throw away the excess, recycle it as required, and your ice ready. And your brakes will have a specification for what fluid you need. This stuff's fine for mine. It's also a nice high performance fluid, so it suits my purposes quite well. So when you're driving old cars around, you want the brakes to be the best they can be. There you go, probably a little bit overfilled, but that'll be fine. We'll run through it in a sec. And always cap your brake fluid in between using it. Now, same deal as the other side. The brake pads are wearing really evenly. The material looks really good on the brake pads, and the material on the rotor looks fantastic. One other test you can do is you can turn the caliper, and if it's really stuck, then that can indicate you've got stuck pistons. This one here moves pretty freely, so it suggests that the pistons are operating normally. So we'll go through again, bleed these ones, and fantastic. Push. Up. 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 And stay up. Push. And up. Push. And up. And push. And up. And push. And up. Push. Up. Push. And up. And stay up. Down. And up. And 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 stay up. Great, so now I've got all the front brakes done. I'll just top this up and then we'll start on the rears. Great, so I'm going to repeat the process on the back. So I'm going to start by the same way, just going to back off these lug nuts while the wheels are on the ground, and I'll take it from there. Now while I'm lifting up the back of the car, I'm just going to lift up on the diff. This car doesn't have a rear anti-sway bar, so it's really easy to access that area of the car. Just making sure to get nice and central over the middle of it, so that what that means is then the car's going to lift up really sort of predictably. If it's too far off to one side, there's a risk of slipping off, so you want to make sure you're nice and central. Great, so now same deal as the front. I've got the car on axle stands just over here. I've got the jack supporting the diff underneath. I've got the other wheel on the other side is in gear with the handbrake on, so it's going to stop the car from rolling a little bit. And then I've got one of the front wheels chocked as well. So again, we're nice and secure, ready to take the wheel off. Now having a look at those rear brakes, you can see again the pistons have been pushing the pads in similarly. There's still heaps of life left in both of those brake pads, so the brake pads are fine. That means it's worth bleeding this brake. So these brakes, these rear ones, only have one bleed nipple, only one, which is this one up here. So we'll be bleeding from there, and that'll be the rear brakes. Great, so now we've got the wheel off, let's get access to here. So we'll pull this little cover off. 8mm spanner. Hook up my bleed hose. And I'll crack that. Great, push down. And up. And 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 stay up. And that one's looking really good, so that'll be fine. Lock all that one off and go to the next one. Lucky last. Great, now same as the last one, just going to pull off this cover, install my 8mm spanner, install my bleed hose, and I'll crack this one. There you go, I'll push down on that one, please, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and stay up. So now I've taken a bit of fluid out of the hose here. I'm just going to double check up the front to make sure there's still plenty in there, and then we'll keep going. Rightio, now we're all filled up again at the front, so ready to do some more. There we go, down, and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Really scrunch this one. Up, down, up, down, and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and stay up. We'll touch it again. Now my little bleeder's all totally full, so we'll empty that out and start again. So you can see how filthy the oil that I've pulled out of this brake system is. It's usually sort of like translucent clear, or sometimes you get like a green dye or something in there, but that's quite dark and you can't see through it at all. So there's a lot of contaminants rolling around in that, so good to get it out of the brake system and replace with some fresh stuff. I don't know how well you can see this, but it's really cloudy, sort of murky colour, and yeah, it's not doing the brake system any favours having that in there. Great, let's do some more. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's coming through a lot cleaner. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, stay up. Great, that's coming through really clean now, so I'm happy that this caliper's going to be working nicely for us, happy with the rest of them. So job done there, good bleed, and just chuck your wheels back on, torque all the lug nuts, job done. Awesome. Fresh brake fluid, happy brakes, ready to go.